Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab, along with my amazing incredible wife Tatum, who hosts the Motherhood Moments channel on Kingdom Impact Lab. In this video series here, we are going through the teachings within the Sermon on the Mount. I am currently on the Beatitudes. This is Beatitude number 6, which is, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Now this one here is a particularly interesting and exciting one, because I did a bit of research on this one earlier, and I created a little hypothesis that this beatitude here, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God," explains why I believe that so many Christian entrepreneurs who achieve some level of financial success ultimately feel disillusionment, burnout, and a disconnect between the work that they're currently doing, whether it's as an employee or in their business, and what their higher purpose is, especially when they are chasing worldly KPIs and worldly goals and different things. And so I'm excited to dive into this and to explore how that can happen. So first of all, what does it mean? What does heart mean in the Christian context? So the heart is essentially the center of your being, where your desires, wills, and thoughts unite. We would be considering the brain of where your worldly thoughts, ideas, and things come from, and the heart is where everything else is. It's sort of where your true spirits are, where all of this. I don't want to dive into discussing it in too much depth, because honestly I don't know how to explain it. I understand the concept, but I don't know the words to use, and also it's not really that relevant. The question here is, what exactly does pure of heart mean? So pure of heart would mean you have your undivided devotion to God with no hidden agendas or double motives. That would be a theological definition of what pure of heart is from the Christian context. And from a psychological context, how this actually, maybe psychological context isn't the best word to use, but let's look at this. Let's look at what this means, having your undivided devotion to God with no hidden agendas or double motives, how this actually applies to the human condition, and how behavioural science and how humans actually operate and work in the real world. And I would take this from Jordan Peterson, and inferring from what Jordan Peterson teaches, purity of heart would mean to aim truthfully, which would mean, from a psychological perspective, that you are fully integrated with your inner world and your outer world. So, in other words, what purity of heart and pure in heart actually means is that your inner world, inside your heart, which is the center of your being, where your desires, will, and thoughts unite. So there's unity within your heart with your external world and your external actions. That is, in the Christian perspective, your undivided devotion to God, and through the lens of kind of how all of this works in your humans, in the human condition kind of thing, this is the integration of yourself, and this is the ideal of what you want to aim for. This is the ultimate level of integrity. And so what this means is that, especially for Christians who have a core set of Christian values that you want to pursue, it's the attitude of when you go to church and what you do in the church, that deep down that you need to be applying the same kind of things that you do in church into the external world, into the secular world, but most people don't do that. And as a result, if you have a business and you have built your business based on following the teachings of the so-called gurus in business, and the other entrepreneurs in business, and you're setting your targets and KPIs and everything you're doing based on what the world tells you to do, because that's the environment that you're in. Well, you may not realise it to start off with, but you are not. You are becoming disintegrated because you're in a world of what you are striving to be like, which would be to become Christ-like. This does not match what your actions are in the workplace, in the marketplace, in business. And over a period of time, this is where, when you don't articulate what this mismatch is, when you're not aware of it and you can't take action, what you're doing is you're allowing the let's call it the spirit of the marketplace, which is secular, transactional. The spirit of the marketplace would be things like the workplace is based on fear. The workplace is based on chasing KPIs, where the KPIs are often, almost always, that's a strange set of words to use, let me rephrase it, where the KPIs are almost always based on sales, conversions, prospects, profits, revenue, all of these things. It's the spirit of the secular business world is that the people at the top are in control, and then the people at the bottom and in the middle tiers are all constantly competing to get higher and higher against each other. The stereotypical dog-eat-dog world. That's the secular business world, and that is the world that you will be in if you're an employee working with it, and you know. If you're a business owner, this is the business world that you are in, and it's natural to look at what other people are doing, other successful people, and try to learn from them, and try to build your business based on them. And for atheists, that's that kind of works for them. But for Christians, what my hypothesis is that this doesn't necessarily always work, because you're going to reach a point where you find that disunity between what's in your heart and what your actions are in the external world. So in the context of Beatitude 6, this would be impurity of your heart, and the longer it goes on, the more that disconnect actually happens, which then leads to the symptoms of the problem, which is when you fall out of love with your business. You might feel burned out, you might have disillusionment, you might start to question why you're doing. This is when you're searching for meaning and purpose in things, and ultimately it's when, if you don't put a stop to it, you may very well come to hate your business, or it may move you further and further away from God, and from the church, and from active service and trying to do things for the benefit of others. And this may very well happen because naturally you are focused on worldly idols like chasing revenue. You will allow pride to take over. And a prime example of this is King Solomon in the Bible, where King Solomon went and he became the greatest, wisest king of all. He was prolific. He was the richest too. People travelled all over to hear from him because of his wisdom. And then throughout the later years of his life, he allowed that to kind of dominate him a bit more. He moved away from God. And then in Ecclesiastes, if you believe that was written by Solomon at the end of his life, which the jury's out on that, that he often concludes that everything is meaningless. So King Solomon is a prime example of how this can happen, and this can happen to anyone, unless you proactively set your aim on a day-to-day basis to act in a way that's Christ-like in day-to-day decisions, which would be to act in the pursuit of excellence, act out of extravagant love and kindness, act out of humble service, act with the mindset of having integrity in what you do, so you make decisions which may very well sacrifice your own short-term gains for the benefit of long-term impact and what you want to do. Because if you don't, or the spirit of the marketplace, the spirit of the business world, which is what I just described, chasing KPIs, money, fear, greed, competition, this is going to if you're reactive and you don't take a proactive approach, this is the environment that you're in, and it will subconsciously affect your decisions. And then over days, weeks, months, years, decades, these decisions compound, and this is where this disconnect between what your heart wants as a Christian, wanting impact, wanting to help others and serve others and use your gift and all of this stuff, becomes bigger, because you can see the void that you've created by the person you've become in business by following the world, naturally following the worldly approaches to things, and and who you are as an inner person. And that's, in my view, what this means. So what is the solution to this? Well, the solution to this is to understand that you have a lot of control of what you do. And okay, before we talk about solutions, let me just share with you a quick hypothesis on why I think this is the case, and then we'll be able to talk about solutions. So I kind of want to set the framework here to what the solution is, if that's okay with you. So basically, what I think is the case is that this is based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that basically means that a way to put it is, you've got $1,000 left in the bank account. You don't have any more money coming in, and you're going to use that $1,000 to make sure there's food on the table and a roof over your head for you and your kids, or are you going to go and spend that at the casino? Well, obviously most people are going to spend it on putting food on the table and shelter for the family and the kids. You have to take care of your most basic needs before you can focus on doing other things. And in perhaps using the casino as a bad example, because that is an addictive behaviour, compulsive behaviour, self-destructive. But what about if you wanted to go on a holiday or to the resort or for a cruise? Or you're always going to prioritise the basic needs above pleasure or other things which come later. So in the context of business, you will need to hit a financial target. When you're in the building phase, when you're a startup, you need to focus on revenue. You need to make the systems work, otherwise your business is not going to work. Your business will fail, not going to work out for you. So you have to have revenue as a primary motivator in the early stages, not the primary motivator, but a primary motivator, so you can build your business up. You have to focus on these things, but then you find that you're focused on hitting this financial target, and you do so you're progressing towards it over a period of time. But your financial target has intrinsic meaning, because you have to hit the target, otherwise your business isn't going to work. And then you hit the target, you surpass the target, and then you don't know what else to set as your next target. So naturally you're going to have more revenue targets, but the basic need of financial security in the business, in your life, has already been met. And so now you're asking the bigger questions, which on Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-actualization, which is when you're starting to question the meaning and purpose behind things. And this is where the issue of the impurity of your heart, or the dissonance between what you want to do as who you are as a person and what you do on the outside, becomes much more apparent. And the longer it goes on, the worse and worse and worse it actually gets. And this is what often happens in the secular world, when people have the midlife crisis, and they, in the 40s for example, and they realise that they've spent 20 years of their life pursuing someone else's goal through the company that they work for. They've reached the ceiling of where they're going to rise in the company. They've reached the pinnacle of their Jacob's ladder of what they can achieve within that company. They thought the whole journey was meaningful as they progressed through it and climbed up, because they had their view at the top. And then all of a sudden they realise they can't go anymore, and that's when people are going to have the midlife crisis and start to question things. You want to avoid that, even in a business. And if you have a business, you have influence in the people that you interact with. You have influence with the people that you create content for. You have influence with the people that are your email subscribers, subscribers on YouTube, social media followers, and the clients you work with. So what a better way to do would be to set yourself an aim of trying to become Christ-like in whatever you do. Pursue excellence. Operate on extravagant love in every situation, for every person that you're with. A practical way to do this would be to view everything that you do through the lens of how can I be the biggest blessing to as many people as possible. So if you were to look at it with a video, you would ask yourself the question, how can this video benefit as many people as possible? Instead of thinking, what can I say in this video to get more people to convert and sign up to my email list or to book a call with me? That would be a better way to do it, because that having this approach here maintains that integration between who you are as a person and what you're doing on an outward way. And when you do this consistently over time, it becomes automatic. You start to do it more often. Your business then starts to become the light. Not everyone's going to resonate with it. You don't have to be overtly biblical or theological in what you do. It's through the actions and the way you treat people. It's to create a culture where people want to be part of your business. You're treating each person as a human, and generally you're having a positive effect. And then people are going to start to notice what you're doing differently, which is your opportunity then to share the gospel if that's what you want, or to integrate. I'm not sure where I was going with that. So, like I said, these are completely unscripted. I don't know where the videos are going. The point is that you have to have consistency between who you are and what you're doing, and that's how you have integrity. And integrity is a core part of becoming Christ-like. If you don't, this dissonance between who you are and what you're doing will get stronger and stronger and stronger. The solution is to adopt a mindset of pursuing Christ-likeness in what you do in all areas of business and systems on a day-to-day basis, where you apply the concepts of becoming Christ-like in your day-to-day decisions. So you are proactively becoming Christ-like rather than reactively allowing the secular transactional marketplace that's focused entirely on just worldly goals and idols like chasing money to influence you and pull you off path, which it inevitably will over long periods of time. Just like I said, look at King Solomon. If it could happen to him, it could happen to anyone. You have to, this is how you do it. Okay, that's all for now. See you next video.